2023 here. Today's knife therapy. You have the Jack Wolf knives, Venom Jack. These knives will be released on 12/16/22 at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. They will come in 5 different variations. First one, as you see here, with this gold dark matter fat carbon. You can also get it with a Damascus camo carbon. It looks pretty darn cool. You can also get it with Mars Valley fat carbon. Of course, you know, all the fat carbons and camo carbons look beautiful. And the carbons are going to run you $299. There's 2 canvas versions. You have your natural canvas micarta. That's going to run you $275. And you can also get it with olive drab canvas micarta. For me, whenever I saw the Venom Jack, I was kind of excited because I love the laid back jack here, but I don't love a swayback handle. Not only did this one fix the, handle issues I was having, you also get a nice broader blade on this one, so it's a very, very good slicer. Let's get some quick specs out of the way. You have a total length of 6.8 inches, a blade length of 3 inches, a grip area from here to the very back right here of 3.5 inches, a handle scale thickness of 0.46 inches, a closed width in the pocket, if you just drop it in the pocket from here to here, of 1.23 inches, a blade stock thickness of 0.12 inches, and a behind the edge thickness on my particular knife around 17 thousandths, sharpened at 23 degrees per side. All right, let's take a closer look at this. Like I said, you have that nice Wharncliff blade, a little wider than that laid back jack, which is going to make it a little bit more slicey because of the higher grind. You do have a nice top swedge that goes all the way down to that tip, thinning it out, so you have a very precise point there for doing precision cutting and, those pull cuts. Very, very nice. You have vertical satin flats on your primary grind right here. Very nice looking. You have a half moon shape nail nick on the presentation side only. Your flats have a very subtle stone wash. Got the Jack Wolf on this side, and the blade steel is Bowler M390 stainless steel. You do have a sharpening notch cut in there that should give you a little bit of sharpening life before it starts to widen up in the back right here. The knife came with a nice deep high full height hollow grind on here. Nice and thin. This thing should perform outstanding. Why don't we find out? This one came the sharpest out of box so far out of all the Jack Wolf knives I've received. And of course, it was slicing through this cardboard effortlessly. It has that nice deep hollow grind on it, making this sharp work. I did have to be mindful of the sharpening notch, however, because I did get hung up a few times, but once I, got used to it, I was perfectly a-okay. It's comfortable doing this light duty cutting, and hopefully that remains true. This is where this Wharncliff really, really shines, is doing those precise, detailed pull-through cuts. You can make really fast cuts like this, and if you really need to get up there and cut something out really fine, say you're doing a project for one of your kids or something, this is an excellent utility style blade shape. Especially using that like pencil grip like that, I could really control that tip very fine, and I'm just playing around here, but did excellent job. Did pretty well on my new cutting mat as well. And yeah, it was definitely nice and sharp, and I could have continued to do this for a long, long time. Now we're going to test the ergos and also see how that edge is. Using light pressure, I was able to make very fine curls easily. So I continue to increase pressure into that wood. The contoured scales were comfortable with no hot spots that I noticed. In-hand cuts are very, very easy with the Wharny. You have a lot of power with that straight edge. Once again, we're using that drag motion cut, perfect for that really fine tip. But cutting on this flat surface, being that it has a straight edge, makes it pretty difficult to do any kind of slicing on the flat surface because that tip wants to bury into the cutting surface. As you can see, I had to raise it up on a piece of wood, a little wood block, so I could get more of that apex of the edge onto what I was cutting. Other than that, I would have probably just shut down the test. That's something that, something you could do in a real life situation if you had that around you. The edge was still feeling really good, blasting through all this material, no problem whatsoever. At least I didn't notice any problems, and it was comfortable in this pinch grip. And I'm really hoping this edge holds up after I finish this. Now we move to the 1/2-inch twisted sisal rope. Here I'm always hoping that the edge has some toothiness to it so it doesn't slide across the rope. This knife felt great. It had a good bit of bite and it still felt really sharp. Now, as you can see, I decided to use that wooden block to cut because, like I said before, I would have probably skipped all the flat cutting surface stuff. And I still wanted to see, how this edge was doing. Man, oh man, that hollow grind paired with a nice toothy edge left on that knife made this test a breeze. I decided I was gonna cut as much rope as I had on me right here. Made 41 cuts before I end up running out. And the edge still felt good. We'll find out in just a second. Well, my dog loves cheese, and I was already going to be cutting it for him, so I figured why not just record it, right? Because a lot of people ask me to cut certain foods and stuff like that. And of course, cheese wasn't a problem whatsoever. Not in the light. It could have been a dull knife, and it would have still done just fine, especially with that tip dragging through. But we get through that, and while I was cutting some food, I figured I would go look in my fridge, see if I had anything that I could kind of test that edge, see if it still had a little bit of sharpness to it. And all I had was a cucumber. Now, if you go to cut a cucumber and the knife's dull, it's gonna you have to like push a lot harder. And as you can see, I'm barely pushing down. I'm able to make really, really fine ribbons with this cucumber. Just showing you that edge still has a good bit of sharpness left to it, and it's nothing crazy here. And I wanted to eat a cucumber. These are those baby cucumbers, and every now and again I'll try to throw something fun in there. I really wish I had like an apple or something so I could have peeled it, but unfortunately didn't have it. So hope y'all enjoyed this. I'll test the edge after I'm done with all this stuff. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that cutting. Let's just take a look at the edge on this phone book paper. After all that cutting, let's see what we got. All right, then. Now let's check near the tip. I'm sure that one is not as sharp near the tip. Yeah, right around there, where I was probably doing all the drag cutting with that cardboard and, everything else that I did up there in the front. But just this small portion right up there in front of the tip is, starting to dull. Probably could hit it on the strop and get it back. All right, let's take a look at the walk and talk. You have a nice crisp half stop there, flush in the half stop position, and a nice positive click on the close, and it's flush in the close position as well. Also flush in that open position. Now I did bring this one to my neighbor to let him gawk over. And well, first off, I've sold him a knife because he's going to buy one of these. He tried to buy mine off of me before the review, told him couldn't do that. But he said it felt like it has a about 6.5 to 7 pull on this one, and a 7.5 on the close. I think that's what he said, or maybe he said 7.5 both ways. But very nice, nice and positive on this one. It's a little bit stronger than my laid back jack, which, you know, nothing wrong with that, especially because of the fact that you have so much blade there. You don't have to use that nail nick. You can easily pinch it open, and that's something that I really, really enjoy. All right, let's close it up and take a look at these beautiful, beautiful scales. I know my camera's not going to do it any justice, but you have T10 pivot, polished titanium pivot, T8 hardware for your covers, and you have this beautiful, beautiful dark matter gold fat carbon. It just looks fancy. It looks like it's expensive. It's some very, very nice looking material. You have nice contour going on the scales. You have double end bolsters with titanium. Very nice. You have the little fluting on both sides. I'm sure I'm not getting the terminology perfectly correct on that, but hey. Of course, everything is perfectly flush and no high spots whatsoever. It's definitely something that is a beautiful sight there. I mean, perfection. Cannot feel in transitions there. Always love that. The centering is absolutely perfect. During all that cutting, I thought it was extremely comfortable. Only thing I did notice is whenever I started exerting a lot of pressure into that wood, the harder, it's not a hard angle, it's not sharp or anything, but just the harder edge on the carbon fiber. It's not so much the same on micarta because it's softer, but squeezing that for prolonged, it wasn't a hot spot, but just started to get some kind of uncomfortable. Not so to where I felt like I had to put on a glove. Also, being that, it's skinnier scales because it is a slip joint. I did think that after prolonged harder cutting, it would start to fatigue my wrists and forearms, but that's pretty common unless you have a thick fixed blade style handle. And just like all the Jack Wolf knives, they come with a beautiful leather slip, and I always put mine tip up. I just find they fit a little better, easier to get out for me. And I carried this the entire time since I got it in the slip in the pocket. Just trying out with what Mr. Ben talked about slow down in life and just enjoy. It's an extra step to get it out. Use your two hands to slow down a little bit. And I gotta say, I enjoyed it. It's the experience you get with these knives. They're heirloom quality, something that I know I could pass down to my kids, and they could pass down to their kids as well. Another thing that I noticed while cutting is that I enjoyed the fact that I could put my thumb right here, and I was pulling through, doing some cuts after all the testing, just enjoying the knife. And as long as I was like right here, the spring is hard enough to where I didn't feel like I was going to easily push it down. And that's something that's pretty common with all the Jack Wolf knives, but this one, just the way the handle's set up, I could choke back a little bit and put my thumb right there, and even kind of choke up a little bit if I wanted to because of this area. Let's get a quick weight without the sheath in grams first, 71.7 grams and 2.52 ounces. So super lightweight. With the sheath, you're looking at 3.1 ounces. So hardly noticeable in my pocket. Now for some quick size comparisons, we have the Jack Wolf Benny's clip and the laid back jack. It's pretty darn close to the Benny's clip, and it's a good bit bigger than the laid back jack. Next up, we have the traditional pocket knives, Ohio River Jack and the QSP Hedgehog. It's a tad bigger than both of these. Lastly, we have the Benchmade Proper and the Lion Steel Roundhead. It's a hair longer than both of these as well. All right, now for my nitpicks and complaints. I think I only really have one. And if you look at the sharpening choil, you can see it's starting to widen back here. I wish it would maybe be brought up just a hair and then to go up, straight up, maybe some, or not as much of an angle, so you have more sharpening light before it starts to widen up there, or pull that plunge back. I don't know. It's not the biggest deal, and something I know I can fix myself, but I know not everybody can do that. Other than that, absolutely love the knife. Definitely is in my top 3, no doubt. And yeah, it could make its way to the #1 spot. If you have any questions about these, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. If you have any questions for Mr. Ben from Jack Wolf Knives, just leave them down below as well, because he's usually down in the comments trying to answer some of y'all questions if y'all have any. All right, guys and girls, I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.